Bobby, you want to start?
Name's Robert Thomas. I go by Bob. Been in office for 4 years now. Reason I ran for office, I think we need somebody to speak for the people. I've got a lot of calls over the years. I've taken the questions down to the Park District, asking for you. I'm running again. This will be my last term if I get in. I believe you should only sit 2 terms in office, so that way younger people can get in and put their opinions in.
My name's Donald Kuiper. I'm a local one Boilermaker by trade. Lived in this town my entire life, and I just want to get involved. I want to do what I can for my community, and I figure it's a good place to start. And I've just got a bunch of questions to begin with, so let's go from there.
Paula.
My name is Paula Wyndham. I've been a park board commissioner for 8 years. I volunteered with the park district for 20 years before that, and I just think we need to keep doing what we're doing. Most of the residents seem to like it.
My name is George Randall Hill. I'm on the ballot as that. Everybody knows me by Randy. I've lived in the community for 20 plus years. I've been a seated commissioner for the Park District for going in my 12th year. We've seen a lot of changes in those 12 years. We went from a small building to a large facility that everybody knows is Water Street Fitness. Actually, I think it's more than Water Street Fitness, in my opinion. It's a community center. That's where everybody meets, and the kids are there, and so, I mean, it's more than just a fitness center. It's a community center, and I think it's a positive direction for this community, and I'm always willing to look at other opportunities that may arise to continue serving the fine residents of Wilmington. Like I said, I've lived here for over 20 years, and I love this town. And the town's given a lot to me, and I just want to continue giving back and keeping the Park District moving in a positive direction forward, and continue to serve from the youngest in our town to the oldest in our town. And then we have a pretty good demographic of that down there at Water Street. Thank you for your time.
My name is Chad Kavanaugh. I'm running for the Park District board. I've helped out with the Community Foundation for Parks for the past year, and I've seen a lot of changes that do need to happen. I think things are going in the proper direction, but we do need to add some green space back to the Park District, and that's really one of the main things I'm hoping to accomplish. I was born and raised in Wilmington. I spent about 12 years in Arizona before coming back to Wilmington about 4 years ago with my family. I've got 2 young kids, a 6-year-old and a 15-month-old boy, who I hope to add some new playgrounds and parks to the community, as well as expand on the community center and make the town a little bit better for them as they grow up. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our first question is for Bob. Last time you were elected, you asked for a proper audit for the district. It's been 4 years, and do you still feel one is needed?
Yes, I do feel one's needed. We need a forensic audit to show where the money is. And with the forensic audit, they will show everything. The audit I believe we do now is a small audit just to satisfy the state. Forensic audit would satisfy everybody in this town. And I do believe we need it. They keep putting me to the side on it, saying we don't need it. It's a waste of money. I don't believe it's a waste of money. I believe it's something that needs to be done to show the people where all their money is being spent.
Don, you got a comment on that since you're new?
I support it. I mean, I went to only one meeting. I wanted to make the last meeting. I wasn't able to because of work, because I was on nights. But I just got a bunch of questions, and I feel like it'll answer some of them.
Okay. How about you, Chad, since you're new also?
I feel if an audit is required and if people feel it's needed, I don't have an issue with it. But as far as legal requirements go and taking care of, the financial report that needs to be done at the end of every year, I do believe that is done. And depending on pricing for a audit, I mean, understood audits tend to be very expensive and we're a very low budget park district. So is it really needed? That I'm not sure. I have not been on the park board yet, so I'm not sure of where all the finances exactly stand. So I guess I'm kind of 50-50 on that, depending on where we end up as far as, you know, where the finances go once I'm on the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Don, as for you, people are saying you want to eliminate the fitness center. Is that true? If so, is there a way to keep the fitness center while also owning or maintaining parks? By also owning or maintaining parks?
I don't want to get rid of the fitness center. I think it's a great thing. I mean, it's not like we have another fitness center in town. Why would you want to get rid of it? I have no issue with the fitness center. I have no issue with before and after school programs. I know there was a thing that was said, and I tried to handle it the best I could. But no, I don't want to get rid of any of those. I believe that we should have our own building. I don't want to get rid of any service. If anything, we need to add more services, if we can.
Okay. Would you favor or oppose charging city to maintain park property if park district was to maintain it?
Well, first of all, I've always been for the city of Wilmington and the park district to work together. Unfortunately, 5+ years ago, we were not able to come up with an agreement. And we all know the parks need to be cared for better than they are right now. They are in bad need of general maintenance and long-term maintenance. Basically, that conversation has to start from the city. And at this point in time, nobody from the city has opened that dialogue up. I am willing to sit down with any and all city officials to maintain an open agreement with the city. With the parks that we have in our community, the two biggest parks in our community are going to cause a big problem for the park district if they would go to undertake it. For the simple fact is, and I'm referring to the North and South Island Park, because of the liabilities of the drownings that occur, unfortunately, every X number of years on the river. Presently, right now, our insurance that we have for our liability insurance will not cover us, just like the problem we had many years ago when we lost the insurance because of our liability. So taking the North and South Island Park out of that spectrum at this point, because we financially cannot afford it because of liability insurance, I am fully in favor of taking care of what I call the community parks, the Memorial Park, and I'm going to always call it Northcrest. It's my backyard. I know it's been renamed, but it's Northcrest Park. I think the park district could handle those two parks very easily. First and foremost, they need to be brought back up to a safe standards, which the association that started last year, that Chad's involved in, and other of us volunteers, we put a lot of hours into those parks up there last summer, and they look great. We need to continue moving in that direction and not let them get back to where they were. So I am for an open dialogue with the city to start conversations on those parks, whether it is a land transfer or whether it is a financial obligation from the city to the park district to maintain them. Ultimately, they're owned by the city of Wilmington. I am for that open dialogue to begin.
Okay, thank you. Paula, you got anything
No,
else to
I
add?
totally agree. I would not be opposed to the park district maintaining the parks. But as Randy said, we need to get an agreement with the city. We tried. I was on the committee for the last 5 years trying to get an agreement with the city.
Okay.
But I totally agree that we should be able to.
Okay. Bob?
I believe we can get an agreement with the city. I'm all for the parks. I grew up on the island, the South Island. I had 2 brothers and sisters. I've known about the drownings. I've lived with them my whole life. I believe that we should be able to take the North Island back and maintain it under our insurance because there's been no drownings over there forever. I have been down working on cutting trees down in the South Island, trying to help the city out to get those back up to where they need to be. I've been asked about, well, you're taking the wood. Yes, I'm doing the wood, but also pay for my own insurance, which you have to have, that they require me to do. I still believe the city can come to an agreement that we can manage all the parks, not just give up the South Island too, but there can be some type of agreement to manage all of it. We need our parks back. We need them for the kids. We need them for the people in this town.
Thank you, Bob. Don, anything you want?
I think it's been pretty well covered.
Okay, Chad, anything?
I just want to, all of that, what has to happen is it has to come to the table between the city and the park district, regardless of how many parks, if it's all the parks, if it's one of the parks. Communications have to happen between the city and the park district in order to get the parks back. And I feel strongly that that can happen. It might have to happen on a slower scale and, pick up a couple of parks, improve them, make that a little bit better, and start moving forward with, some of the larger, financial obligations that it could take into undertaking North Island, South Island, and getting those back up to where they should be, as far as recreation areas for the kids.
Okay, thank you, Chad, thank you. Okay, this is another question for everybody. The park district is paying $11,000 a year in property taxes and has a quote-unquote rent for life lease of more than $1 million. Would you consider this a burden on taxpayers?
100%.
Yes, I think it's a burden on the people. We're gonna pay $1.4 million in rent over 20 years. $1.4 million, we could have had a nice building. I think we could have got it down in the park where the trailer courts were. I think we could have came up with an agreement with the city to get that property and put a nice building there that we would own. And then you could have your own basketball court, you could have your own daycare. It'd be great to have it there because you got the park that the kids could go down and play in. You could have all kinds of functions right there in a park that is the city's, and the park district owns the building. It's a waste of the money, I believe, for rent.
Paula?
Well, I actually think that the fitness center is paying for itself. I mean, we get 50% revenue from the fitness center, 35% revenue from the activities, and another 15% from rental. So I think it is covering itself.
You think it is or you know it is?
Well, at this point, I think it is. I'm almost sure it is.
Okay, all right. Randy?
I'm not opposed to the park district owning property, unfortunately, in a building. Fortunately, we financially are not able to do that at this point, and we were not able to do that 5 years ago. For the simple fact is, we have no lending power. We could have went to any lending institution and they would have laughed us out the door. The only way that we can do it is to put a referendum on the ballot to increase the taxes for the city of Wilmington. I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick of my taxes going up throughout the city or the state or the federal government. I am not going to come to the city of Wilmington residents and ask them for a property tax increase in order to put a building up that we are funding and supplying services to the community at this point right now. If something should arise in the future that a building would become available for rent and we can financially afford it, I don't have a problem looking at those numbers. But at this point in time, I think the building is a great asset for what money that we're spending. The amount of money that we're spending per square foot down there is less than $1 a square foot. I don't know what rental properties are going for. I am not in the real estate business, but I think that's pretty cheap for what we're offering to the community.
Chad, you got any?
Yeah, at the end of the day, renting a building is not the best option, but I think right now for the community, it is the only option. As Randy said, there really is no borrowing power from the park district right now. They do not own any real estate. They don't have parks, nothing like that to be able to bond against, even build, $1 million+ building. I mean, to build a recreation center is not a small endeavor. It takes millions of dollars to be able to put something like that together. So I think right now, in the situation that they're in, renting the building, unfortunately, isn't the best deal, but it is what is working for the city right now.
Thank you. Okay, here's another question for all of you, well, three of you, since you've been on the park board. When the park board passed the tax increase 4 years ago as a special recreation tax, half the money, or about 80 grand, would stay in town for accessibility improvements. Please explain if this has happened.
That was done before I got in, so I'm gonna turn that back over to you two.
Randy, go ahead.
I assume you're talking about the LWSRA tax, is what
Right,
it's
sounds-
referring to.
That's
We do have one or two pieces of equipment that is handicap accessible that has been purchased with part of that money. We do programs with LWSRA. They're at the facility and throughout the town. Anything that we, on that money that we have generated from the taxpayers, has to be approved by LWSRA in order for us to spend it. So anything that we want to do as far as special recreational issues with that money, it has to be approved by Lincoln Way Special Recs. And we have a format to do that with our director and with the board of directors that presently serve with LWSRA. I was surprised to see how many residents needed and are taking part in the LWSRA from when the time we started it till now. It is a valid program. It is a program that this community needs, and it is a program that the families that are taking part in it, they not only are taking part in programs here, but they are getting involved in things that are happening in in Laraway. And we are one of the smallest contributors to LWSRA and all of them that are involved in that organization. But we have all the benefits of the big dollars from the other communities around us and the northern communities that are putting in hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars into that program. So for what little bit we put towards it, we are getting so much more back for our residents that need it in our community. And so I think it was a very valid program for us to get involved in, and I will continue to support that.
Paul, anything to add?
Nope, I agree with what he said.
This is a great question. What does your future park district look like? Chad, you want to start with you?
You know, our future park district, I think in this community, we have so much opportunity with the island parks, with Memorial Park, Veterans Memorial Park, Children's Memorial Park, even in Brookside. But we also have a lot of newer communities or subdivisions within the community, Water's Edge, over on the west side of town, behind the Shell station there, I forget what the River's Edge, I believe it is. But there are no parks in those newer communities, even, over here, Waterford Court, Winchester Green, there are no new parks in there for the children to go play at. So part of my new future plans for the park district would be to try to build parks in a lot of those communities and things like that. This could be potentially years down the road because there's so much to be invested in that. But I'd also like to see a recreational facility built that has ball courts and maybe a walking track, something along those lines to allow the community to work, year round within a facility. So that's what I'd like to see in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years. So,
Randy, what's your thoughts?
We need to continue moving in the direction that we are, number one. Number two, as it's been stated before, we are a small taxing body, so it's kind of hard for us to do a lot. But if we can start working with the volunteer organizations, with the city of Wilmington, with the school districts, with the football organization, with the baseball organization, pool all of our assets and our control of what we have available to us, and start working together to get to a community center, not a community center, but a fitness field and walking tracks and whatever we can fit. Basically, it all comes down to land and what's available for land. I know there's a lot of land out there, there by the Bobcat football field area. There was a lot of talk of putting a complex out there. All that takes money. And unfortunately, we are a very small community that don't have a lot of tax dollars and tax money available to us. But I think if we work together as an organizations, of all of our organizations and our volunteer organizations and our youth organizations, with the city, with the park district, with the school, I think we can come up with a program that will work. There again, as Chad stated earlier, it all comes down to communication. And if the dialogue has got to be opened up, and we've got to put a panel together to start looking at what our options are and what's out there available for us. I know that there are grants available through the state, that we have to have a plan. You know, we can't just apply for a grant in the state of Illinois and say, oh, we want $500,000 and we're not going to tell you what we're going to do with it. We've got to have a plan put together. We've got to have it down on paper, and that takes time in order to get to that point. But first of all, we've got to start that dialogue.
Paul, anything?
I agree with what they both said, and I do think that in the future, I would like to see us having more of the small community parks. I think it would help out a lot, but as they said, first we have to have the revenue.
Okay. Don?
I don't think there's anything you can really add to that.
Okay. That's fine. Bobby, you got any ideas?
Well, if I remember right, years ago, we were building these subdivisions, the park was offered money, land, which one they wanted. They took the money instead of the land. So that's what happened with the property. We never have any property in these subdivisions.
Can I respond to that?
Go ahead, Randy.
Okay, Jeremy?
Out at Water's Edge, the property that was proposed to the Park District for land for a park out there was under a set of highline wires. It's kind of hard to do something with the park for the community under a set of highline wires. That was the only piece of property that was available at the time. At that point, that's when we lured to take a financial contribution from the builder, and that's what we went with, because the options that they gave us as far as land wasn't going to work for anybody. They were trying to dump a piece of land onto our lap that they couldn't sell. That's how I remember it. With regards to the property up there, which I'm going to say up by Ropp subdivision, up north of Kankakee, which is north of Northwest from where I'm at, there was property offered to the Park District, and I remember for that, we lured because the Northcrest Park was in walking distance, that we could have put the money contribution towards the parks that we were maintaining at that time. Unfortunately, how I remember it, the contractor that was building that went belly up, and the place basically kind of folded in its lap. So there really wasn't much we could work with at that point when the building contractor basically packed up and moved out. The other ones, I was not involved in any of the other communities as far as Winchester or any of that. That was before my time becoming a commissioner. But I do know those two pieces of property, they weren't going to work for what they were offering. That's why we went to the lure of a cash contribution.
All right. Okay, Paula, how do you feel the Park District has progressed in the last few years?
Leaps and bounds. I mean, we went from offering 2 programs a year to the community, which was the fishing derby and the Easter egg hunt. We went from that to moving into the building uptown, doing the fitness center, doing the before and after school kids programs. I think we've done amazing.
Anybody else have any?
I would agree with Paula, except for just on the outset of, we don't have the park still. I think just about everything here tonight has underlined that the Park District is moving in the right direction, but we need to get the green space back before it can be considered a complete success and start moving forward from there.
The next question is, are you familiar with the current programs offered to the public by the Park District? Before and after care, mommy something or other, mommy care, etc. Yeah. So, basically, you want to know, do you guys know all the programs that they're offering now?
I would say yes, we pretty
Well,
much do. We got the post.
We're seated commissioners for the 3 of us up here. We better know what's going on down there. But yes, I am aware of everything that is happening at the Park District down there. The simple fact is we get a report from our director and from our operations at the park every month as far as how the program is going, as how the achievements and the attendance is going. So we get a monthly report as how things are progressing down there. So Yes, we are fully aware of who's being taken care of down there.
Okay. What kind of funds will be set aside to support the programs that you already have and training the staff for future programs and also training the staff for the future?
Well, that would depend on what buildings, what industrial stuff comes into the city. Everybody knows we got a bunch of money from Bridgeport, and I did ask the last meeting how much of that is left, and it's all gone. There is no money from Bridgeport left. So, you're asking where the money's gonna come from to train these people? It comes from within what we have now, and if we have to cut some to train people, I think that's kinda how it's gonna have to be. Because you can't, like Randy said, you don't wanna go to the people and say, hey, we want a bunch more money. Because we have this program going, we don't wanna cut it, so we're gonna ask everybody to help pay for it.
Anything to add on that, Randy?
Well, as far as Bridgeport money goes, Bridgeport money, we still have about $100,000 in a reserve account for Bridgeport money. The rest of the money has been put into the facility. We started receiving money from Bridgeport the year that we opened the building. So at that point, as those funds slowly come in, it's misconstrued, I think, to the community that we got a whole $500,000 all at once handed in one check. We did not. That money came into us over a series of payments. That money was put into the building to get the building and facility up and operating. A little bit of numbers for you on that. That $500,000 that we still have, about $100,000 of it, in the last 5 years has generated $567,362 within the facility at Water Street Fitness. So within the 5 years, we've gotten 100% of our investment of that $500,000, and we haven't even used all of it. There's about $400,000 roughly that's been used. By utilizing just those basic math numbers over the 23-year term of that TIF from there, if we continue in the direction that we are, and I hope that we'll get even better, the Park District is going to generate over $2.6 million from activities and functions that are happening at Water Street Fitness and at the community center. So that money, I feel, as a commissioner and as a taxpayer, has been put to the best use we could as a Park District at the time. We put it into the building, we put it into the community that we serve. So it's not gone, it's there. You guys, the community is using it.
Okay. Thank you, Randy, appreciate that. How involved will you be in supporting, promoting the park district, its programs and staff, in addition to the other sponsored activities offered to the public? I assume that, they want to know how much more you can support their programs.
I got one. I think they're asking, will I support other things down the road? Yes, I will support them. As long as the money's there, that we can support them, I will. Another thing too, even if I don't get back in on this election, I want everybody to know I'm not giving up. I'm not gonna stop helping. I'm gonna continue to help because that's what we need in this town. We need people to volunteer, get out there and help, make our parks back what they were, and bring them back to the Park District. And the programs down there, if we can improve them and make them better, we need to do that.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else anybody wants to add to that?
Yeah. If I could, I interpreted the question as asking like, what as a board member would you do basically outside of the boardroom in your one meeting a month to help support the programs and things like that? I'm already at the Park District building quite a bit. My son participates in the after-school program. But I'm also, like I said, involved with the community foundation for the parks. So we are very active in the parks around the city, trying to raise money to help fund some of these projects and stuff that we've talked about. But as a commissioner, I plan on being at the at the building fairly frequently to see what's going on. I'll be participating in the fitness center, things like that. So I think, like I said, it's more of a question of what is the park board members going to do to help support it outside of just an hour, 2 hours a month at the board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Okay, this question, I think everybody knows this, but is it true the Park District has a 20-year lease?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Are copies of the lease open to the public?
Yes, it is. It's open as far as the regulations that we have to abide by, in Open Meetings Act and FOIA request. Anybody can request a copy of that, or any documents that we should have or need that they would like to review. Our door is always open, during regular business hours, and if it's something that you need done prior to, our director is always available. And if our director isn't available, I'm available, or any of the other full-time staff that's there. So, yes, any and all documents are there to view by the community.
All right, thank you, Randy. Okay, if the Children's Memorial Park was your focus, why did it take the efforts of outside sources to clean and improve it on their own? And how can we make sure this doesn't fall for strictly volunteers only efforts?
First of all, we didn't have an agreement with the city, so we can't go up there as a park district and start doing some maintenance and cleaning and whatnot. The simple fact is, if we send our staff up there and mow or weed whip or pick up trash or whatever, and they unfortunately would get hurt, they are not covered under our liability insurance and our workman's comp insurance. So we have to kind of look at it as an avenue, as if we don't have an active agreement with the city of Wilmington, we really can't go up there and do anything as far as the taxing body. I was volunteered up there that weekend we were up there. I was using the park equipment. I had the tractor up there and we were moving mulch and everything. I did all that on my own time. I did that because, number one, it's in my back door, and number two, I wanted to see it looking better, and it was the best way that I could put my efforts towards that as a taxpayer and as a park commissioner, because I'm not paid. I'm not covered. I'm covered under a voluntary act. And so until we get an agreement, we can't do anything in the city parks.
Why does the park district need a full-time maintenance man when it doesn't maintain parks and hires part-time help to clean the fitness center? Who wants to answer that?
There's still other things that they have to do. I mean, he goes over the equipment every morning to make sure everything's working. There's lots of other jobs that he does besides mow the grass.
We have an agreement with the school district that during the summer months, he does do a lot of mowing on Wildcat Drive. That's part of our intergovernmental agreement with the school district. At one point in time, we were doing the care for the soccer fields behind the nursing home when the soccer club had that lease and that agreement with the nursing home. They have since moved out to the church on 102. So therefore, we backed away from that agreement, and we're no longer caring for that property. But as Paul stated, our maintenance director, he goes through and looks at all that equipment, and that's actually saving us money that we don't have to hire somebody to come in and to oversee that equipment to make sure it's in a good, safe working orders for the members that utilize it. There are a lot of maintenance things that need to happen on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis at the park district building. And not to mention the equipment that we do still have that is utilized. So I don't think the full-time staff is sitting around twiddling his thumbs all day long. I mean, every time I go down there, he's either coming in the door or going out the door doing something.
Anything to add there, Bob?
Nope.
Okay, should the park commissioners be concerned about the percentage of people who don't or can't use the fitness center but pay its taxes? What can be done for them?
I feel like I'm going first all the time. I'm going to sit back and let you take it.
Well, first of all, I suppose we'd have to find out why they don't use the facilities, or if they can't. And meet with them one-on-one if necessary and find out what it is that we can do to help them.
She said it.
I look at it as well as, I mean, if you look at the school district, there's a lot of folks in the community that don't take advantage of the school district any longer. You look at the library district, there's a lot of people that I know that, they pay their library district taxes, but they haven't been to the library in years. So unfortunately, with that being said, there's going to be some people that don't participate in the activities, and, there are activities offered for just about every demographic in town, but it's up to the residents to choose to participate in them.
All right, that's the last of my questions that were submitted. Is there any other questions anybody has that want to ask any of them up here? Joe?
I just have a question. The maintenance man, is he or she, are they maintaining a building that you guys are leasing? Is that part of the contract, or is the owner of the building supposed to take care of those kind of issues?
Any major repairs goes back to the landowner. Minor repairs as far as, changing a light switch or something small like that, he's doing that. Fixing a toilet that it continues to run, it's just minor, minimal maintenance is being done within house. But anything major that goes on with the building, that falls back to the property owner.
Okay. I want to thank all of you, thank you for running, and thank you for coming and answering our questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.